We've got three main methods for getting black and white images from a colour original. The first one is dead easy. It's a simple desaturate. There's two ways to do a desaturate. If you don't mind destroying the colour pixels, go straight into the image menu, choose adjustments, and then desaturate. That'll wipe out everything. You get a black and white image. I'll just undo that because it's a non-destructive way of doing this as well. Go into the Layers palette and click on New Adjustment Layer. Choose Hue and Saturation, and then pull the saturation slider all the way down to -100 and say OK. This gives you exactly the same result, but it doesn't destroy the image. Now I'd like to make a copy of this because we're going to compare this with the next method we're going to use, which is stealing from a color channel. So I'll just copy this to its own layer and I'll rename it Desaturate. And we're ready to move on to the next method. Making a copy of an existing color channel is a great way of getting a really nice black and white image. All you need to do is to go to your Channels palette and then look at each of the RGB channels. Find one that's got a black and white image that does the job for you. If you find one that is a good black and white image that you'd like to use, I like the look of the green channel in this case, all you then need to do is to select it by using Select All, then using Edit Copy, reactivate the RGB channels, and that's important you activate the RGB channel, go back to Layers and then Edit Paste. By using Edit Paste, it'll lay down a copy of the channel that's just been used. So I'll just rename that one Green Channel. And there's my black and white image. I'll turn that one off. Go back to background. Now there's one other little channel trick that you can do, and that is to switch modes. There is another mode than RGB that's quite useful for getting black and white. It's called Lab Mode. All you need to do is to go to the Image menu, choose Mode, and switch to Lab Mode. If you're wondering about these other modes, forget them. They don't really give you anything that's quite good enough. But Lab Mode can give you something very nice. Choose Don't Flatten. That way you'll preserve all of your layers. And then simply switch channels. This will show you one channel that's useful. It's called Lightness. Now the Lightness channel will often give you an excellent black and white image. So again, select all, edit copy, reactivate all the channels by clicking on the Lab channel at the top, go back to Layers and Edit Paste. And I'll rename this one and I'll call this Lab Black and White. Okay, the final method for doing this is a well-used and lovely function which gives you the advantages of channel copying. It's a thing called the channel mixer. So before we dive in and use the channel mixer, I need to switch back to RGB mode. Very important. So I'll go to Image, Mode, back to RGB. Don't flatten to preserve all of your layers. And we're back in business. So I'll go back to background. Okay, now to use the channel mixer. Easiest way to do this is to simply lay down a brand new adjustment layer at the bottom of your Layers palette. So I'll put down a channel mixer adjustment layer. And I'll bring in my channel pixel palette so we can see this in action and switch to monochrome. Turn on the monochrome option and it shows you the existing current red channel at 100%. If I switch this to 0 and then switch green to 100, it shows you the existing green channel. Same is true for the blue channel. If I set that to 100 and the green to 0, I get to see the blue channel. So this is like making a copy directly from the color channels. But the real fun of this tool is I can now mix in different parts of each channel. Now you may have seen the channel mixer being used to do things like correct red eye. But for creating black and white images, it is just amazing the things that you can achieve with this by fooling around with the different channel settings and just fine-tuning it until you get exactly the sort of black and white image that you really want to achieve. And you can really go for some pretty wild effects if you fool around with this long enough. You really can get it to go just about any color you can possibly imagine. So I think I've just about got this to where I want it to be. Just drag that out of the way. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's quite good. and I'll say OK. Yep, that doesn't look too bad at all. Now, I've used an adjustment layer for this one, so I'll just quickly copy this up onto its own layer, which I will now name Channel Mixer. I can now throw away that Channel Mixer layer, and now we can compare to see what we've done. So let's have a look. We have a straight Desaturate black and white. We have a copy of the green color channel in this case, but it could be any color channel at all. We have one that is a copy of the lightness channel from lab mode, which is also a very nice version, particularly when you compare it with the Desaturate version, which is the closest to it. It's a much nicer black and white, isn't it? And finally, we have the channel mixer version, which we have created by mixing together the different color channels. So there you go, 3 really good methods for getting excellent black and white from Photoshop.